Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening. Welcome to 365 Deep Dive. He's John Moore. I'm Andy Honeycutt, and we're going to dive right in because we got a really exciting show for everybody here today. Lots and lots of big announcements this week from Redmond and Microsoft. Also, John and I may have had a couple of Christmas holiday gifts arrive prior to today's show, but we also got a big gift from Microsoft this week that we're really excited to talk about. And speaking of being really excited to talk about, I want to welcome everybody joining in from wherever you happen to be. I know we are usually multi-continent in this show, so let us know where you're watching from here in the chat. This is definitely going to be interactive, so please feel free to ask questions, provide your tips and tricks, and just interact with us throughout the entire presentation. Now, before we get into the announcements and all of the exciting things, we have something that we need to celebrate here today. Not a day older than 25, John is celebrating a birthday. So if you would, everybody join in with me and let's give John a big happy birthday to you. So happy
Thanks,
birthday,
Andy.
John. Not a bad way to spend a birthday, fresh off of your Chiefs making it to the Super Bowl and celebrating your birthday, and the announcement from Microsoft about some of the new functionality that we got this week. This is a pretty exciting weekend.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the well wishes. I really appreciate it, Andy. That's why you were like, "Hey, I'm going to do the intro this time," so you could do that. Well, thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate it. As Andy said, we've got a ton of stuff to cover today. I'm really excited about this because, like, we were going to do this live stream last week and talk about Stream Deck. And I was talking to Andy yesterday. I was like, we went from having the worst luck ever to having like the best luck ever, right? Because we were going to talk about this, and then 3 days later, they were going to like announce the new Stream Deck support, and we would have been like, what? We look so stupid, right? But Andy fortunately got COVID last week, so that pushed us a week. I hope you're doing better, man. Are you feeling better? A little bit better than last week? So
we'll do our best.
I think last week it just wouldn't have happened, So appreciate you guys all, with your patience for letting us shift a little week later. And now we have like even more interesting stuff to talk about because as Andy mentioned, we have official Microsoft Teams support in Stream Deck. That's not all this is going to be about today. It is going to be Stream Deck only, all Stream Deck all the time. Teams is just part of that. We're going to go way deeper than just Microsoft Teams, but we're really glad that you guys are here watching. We've got people from Tennessee, Germany, New Zealand, of course, the Netherlands. So thank you guys very much, and thank you for the well wishes. So let's jump in, Andy. Without further ado, what do you want to talk about first, man?
Well, a couple of, I guess, big announcements. Number one, at the end of 2022, Elgato released a new Stream Deck, the Stream Deck Plus. And Santa and his little helpers must have been hearing us talk about or have some conversation around that, because one arrived underneath my Christmas tree. And I think you secured one over the holiday season as well. So we've got some brand new Stream Deck Pluses to talk about. These are the new Stream Decks with the knobs in addition to the touchscreen and the buttons up top. So we were going to do kind of a setup or a walkthrough, but we were having some conversations about another stream that we're working on right now that deals with productivity. And we talked about maybe doing Stream Deck for productivity. And so that's really what we want to dive into. Is it's not going to be just the Stream Deck Plus. We're going to be talking about the Stream Deck Plus and setup for sure, but we're also going to talk about some productivity. And speaking of productivity, Microsoft released, along with Elgato, a brand new plugin for Microsoft Teams this week. It was buried at the very end of this very long blog post, but the Stream Deck now has a brand new Microsoft Teams plugin. And it was really funny. I think this was announced on Wednesday, I believe. One of our friends in the community, Phil, was actually tweeting about it and brought this up. And so I saw it, went into the blog post right away, immediately went to the Elgato store. There was the plugin, and I started installing it and like live tweeting screenshots along the way. John, you on the other hand took a completely different route. You went to Microsoft and we're trying to get early access to it. Unbeknownst to you,
Yeah,
it was
like
already out in the wild.
I kind of like freaked out. So I did a tweet that was like, "Hey, everybody, come join us on stream. We're going to talk about Stream Deck." And Phil was like, "Have you seen this yet?" And he just posted, "Hey, check it out. It's out. They announced it." And I usually take the approach, like the way Microsoft usually does things is like right here they say that this will be rolling out over the course of the next month. It says it's somewhere in here. They might have taken it away. But like they usually say like it's starting to roll out and you might see it sometime in the future. So yeah, I jumped on the MVP team and went directly. I was like, I was at mentioning Aaron Steele. I at mentioned Jeff Teeper. I was like, hey guys, like we happen to be doing a stream in like 2 days. Can you give us this early? Can we get like, permission, or is it still under NDA to talk about this? And while they were hunting it down, Andy started tweeting saying like, dude, it's out. Like, I don't know why you're like at mentioning Jeff Teeper, like interrupting like the president of collaboration. Because yeah, I didn't need to do that. So if you ever see this, I hope I didn't notify you during a meeting when I was asking for like special treatment.
Yeah, I went right away to the plugin store and found it,
Yeah.
and then started trying to set it up. I got pretty far in the installation process, and then I hit an issue with trying to find the API token. And we're going to talk about that in the setup here in just a moment. That's as far as I got, but I was able to get the actions onto the Stream Deck, and I was able to get everything laid out like I wanted. And that was on my Mac. Now, I also installed it on a PC that I own, and it was able to connect and get going on the PC almost immediately. So very few barriers to get started there. On the Mac, I had a few more problems. I actually had to reinstall Teams twice. I had to do a clean install. I had to wipe Teams entirely and then do a clean install. And then when I did that, it actually lit up. And so it's been running ever since. It was actually running this morning. But yeah, the day they announced this, this was live. And then the video started trickling in. I know you had a video you posted on YouTube that has...
Yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to make one like right now and just put one out to see how it goes. So
what was the bar like for the views on that one?
Oh my gosh, it was crazy. Like, so let me bring up my YouTube studio. I'll show you guys the graphic of like to give an idea of like the appetite for this. So if anybody from Microsoft is like happens to be watching, and you're like, do people want a Stream Deck or not? I made this because I've been like talking about this for years now, that man, I wish Microsoft would just have real Stream Deck support. There's a plugin ecosystem. You can see right here on this graphic, like normally my videos and then like the actual video I put out, like it's like 10 times more popular than a normal video that I release. So, and you can see like 10 times the thing. If anybody wonders out there if I'm like, printing money on YouTube and that like it's monetized and there's ads and stuff, I made $1.03 for all that work making that video. So I can get extra bacon on my cheeseburger, I guess. So, but no, it took off, and it's like 10 times the rate of a normal video growth. And I think it's because like a lot of people during the pandemic, they bought these devices as productivity devices, as business people. And, what I've heard a lot on Twitter is that people just kind of like put it in a drawer. They got it because everybody was talking about it. They thought it was this, like game changing device. They saw a blank set of buttons and they kind of, didn't know where to start with like a blank canvas. They found that they didn't use it that much, and then they just put it in a drawer. And I think the release of this really, there's been people saying like, oh my gosh, I'm going to pull this out, blow off the dust, and I'm going to set it up again for the first time in a year. And I think a lot of people are revisiting like, oh my gosh, this thing I spent money on has a whole new life now as a business professional. And I think that's really exciting, and I'm glad that we get to talk about it finally. So I think it's going to be a really fun stream.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are the big two announcements that we wanted to talk about. This
Hmm.
started with the introduction of the Stream Deck Plus. So we're going to talk a little bit about the
Yeah.
setup and some of like our various use cases around the Stream Deck Plus.
Hmm.
But Microsoft gifted us the new Teams plugin, and the plugin's really exciting for a number of reasons that we're going to get into here in just a little bit. But it's more than just a series of shortcuts. They've built an API for
Hmm.
this, which means that there could be other possibilities down the road. And we'll talk about how hopefully this applies to some of the other Microsoft 365 apps and services. And to John's point, many people have had these for a couple of years. I know I've had it for a couple of years, and there's times when I really use it heavily, and then there's times like I kind of forget that it's over there. But like this has definitely
Yeah.
re-excited some things and got some new things thinking or new thoughts forming for me. But in talking about our outline and what we wanted to talk today, I think we have two really interesting points of view and as to how like we use it. I know you're coming
Hmm.
more from the in the process of delivery and how it can help you
Yeah.
to control things while you're doing a live stream or while you're doing a presentation. I use it for those tools as well, but I'm also thinking about it from a productivity standpoint when I'm building something. Like, can it help
Hmm.
me to build a PowerPoint presentation? Can it help me to, cut down on the number of keystrokes or the number of keyboard shortcuts that I have to remember so that I can just concentrate on the content, not so much like
Hmm.
the tools that I'm using for that. And so, in putting together our outline, I think the two different viewpoints are going to be really cool as we go through this.
Yeah. So I hope today, if you're looking at your Stream Deck, you got oh my gosh, the new buttons are out, but like that only takes up a couple slots and you've got all of these open extra buttons. This is the live stream for you. We're going to help you with some ideas of like how you can expand and you can grab some extra buttons. So to kick things off officially, we are going to quickly go through like just a 1 to 5 minute thing, showing you how to set up the Teams buttons. And then Andy and I, we're going to do a quick tour of our actual Stream Decks. So I have a Stream Deck XL and a Stream Deck Plus. I think you have an XL and a Plus too, right? Those are the
Correct.
two devices you have.
Yeah.
So we're both going to show off like how we filled out our Stream Decks. You can see mine on my screen already. And then we've got a lot of ideas for general productivity and kind of like pushing the edges, like kind of dream a little bit about what you can do, the art of the possible. And then we're going to end out the live stream today with a big wish list of Teams additions we would like to see added to the plugin. So, I want to see a ton of ideas and inspiration in the chat. Maybe it will inspire Microsoft to, take this to another level for us. So, without further ado, I will show real quickly how we set it up. So, you can see on the Stream Deck software right here, I've already got these icons set up and ready to go. But I'm just going to create a new profile so we can start from scratch here. So what you're going to do first, if you have a Stream Deck and you have Microsoft Teams, you're going to do a little bit in both component to kind of connect the two things. So the first thing you're going to need to do is go to the Stream Deck store right here. So you're going to click that plus button, and then right in the top, you can type Teams, and that's going to come up with the Microsoft Teams button. When I made my video, it was like 300 people had downloaded it. Now it's 3,700. So it's like it's growing exponentially. You're going to install that. And then what that's going to do is it's going to give you these buttons right here along the side, these actions that you have available to you. And you can drag those into any slot right here. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. And this is what it would look like to a person who, oh, well, it's because it's configured on another token. What you would see is you'd see a little red padlock the first time that you do this. And that's because you're going to need something called an API token. And that's where you're going to connect it to the Teams application. So inside of Microsoft Teams, you're going to go into your settings. So you're going to go up here to the top, you're going to go into settings, and then you're going to go to privacy right here on the side. So we go to privacy. At the bottom, you're going to have this manage API button. Click on that. Then you're going to select this and copy it, the whole line. And then you're going to go out of Teams. We're going to go back over to the Stream Deck. We're going to paste that in, and then it will light up the button as a grayed out icon because you're not in a meeting yet. So I'm going to grab these other buttons. You only have to do this one time. So we're going to grab mute, camera, the leave button, and then I'm just going to line up these other ones, applause, all that type of stuff, laughing. So we're going to do a couple, and then I'll also do recording because why not? So now these are grayed out at this point, but they will light up when you get into a meeting. So I've got a meeting right here. I'm going to go ahead and just start a meeting. I'm going to make it real small. I'm going to start a meeting by myself. And once this starts, see how they all lit up right there? So now I have the buttons available to me. Once this finally connects, I'm doing a lot on my computer right now. I would be able to press these buttons and have them start interacting with my Teams client. So we'll give this another few seconds to connect.
While that's actually connecting, a couple things to point out. It's using the API, like we kind of mentioned in the overview. So it's using that third-party API token to connect. That's really big because we've been asking for the Stream Deck and Teams interaction for like 2 years now, and for them to do it this way is really surprising because I think I would have just been happy with just give me some keyboard shortcuts and I would have done some hotkeys myself. This is really cool because I don't have to do that. It just connects in. I drag in the actions that I want. It automatically connects it, adds the functionality, and it went ahead and it added some of these really cool interactive icons, like the camera turns red whenever, or the recorder turns red whenever you're recording. So they're like hotkey switches, which is
it's
cool.
two-way. It gives you a status and it sends the command, which is great. And I feel like they're building something that's like an extensible framework here, because by building it as an API, now it could be used in other ways, right? So one thing with this, somebody asked me on Reddit. Yeah, somebody asked me on Reddit, like, can you control this from another device? Because the question is, I can't install this software right here on my corporate laptop, right? Like maybe it's not allowed. So what if I've got a gaming PC and I have a Stream Deck on it? Could I control this window on another computer? And I think it's not available now. So I tried this and it does not work across the LAN. That's because this plugin is hard coded to be localhost. So it's hard coded to be the one on your computer. But we'll show it here in a little bit. Somebody's already started trying to reverse engineer the API and see like how the commands are sent, and they found it was localhost. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at what if we could build another plugin that uses this same API. Everything's the same, except what if you popped out localhost and put a variable in there? And then instead of the API token, you have API token and IP/host name, And like, what if you could put in the host name of your corporate computer and then control it from your other computer that's, on the same local network? So I think there's more possibilities with this than if they had just been like, okay, well, we're just going to kind of package up like our keyboard shortcuts basically and do the same thing, but just with an official wrapper. I feel like this is just, it's more future proof. It's like a better engineered solution in my opinion. So
yeah.
It's
And
gonna be
speaking
awesome.
of engineered solution, they did one other cool thing with this API. Sometimes when you're using the Stream Deck and you use a command, it doesn't always go to the app that you want it to unless you add in. There's like a multi action that you can use where you can bring something to the forefront and then you can have it execute commands. This will work even if Teams is in the background. So like you could be in a meeting and then you could have OneNote open and you could be taking notes. And then somebody asks you a question, you can hit the button on your Stream Deck immediately to unmute, and it'll unmute and keep you where you are. And, you can then respond back and keep doing what you're doing. I think that's really, really huge. It interacts with Teams, even if Teams is in the background while you're inside of that meeting.
Yeah, it used to be you had to do this. So to make a mute button, I had to go in here, Microsoft Teams. There it is. I would have to add a multi-action. I'd have to add one that opens the app and then sends the hotkey Shift Command M, and then usually like maybe it wouldn't even work. So you might have to add a delay in the middle right there for like 1 second or something. And then to do what this one button does, I used to have all that so I could press it, it would activate, and then it would like do the mute command. So it like Teams would always pop up in your face if you had that set up. Now, even though it's in the background, it's not in the foreground. I can just hit this button right here, and not only does it mute without interrupting my flow, it also tells me visibly on my physical Stream Deck that my microphone's muted. Like, it's so much better than what we had to do earlier.
Yeah.
So yes, super cool. I think I've had enough gushing over how to set it up at this point. I think we could probably move on.
You do
talk
have the
about next
standalone
things.
video, so you got a standalone set of
Yeah.
video on your channel. If you're here,
Yeah.
you're already on John's channel. Go and check that out. The standalone video. If you need instructions, walking through it. If you
Yeah.
go through the install setup and if the keys don't light up like they are here with the actual icons, if they just have kind of a Teams logo with like a red icon over it, that means that you probably need to update Teams. You can run the update inside of Teams. In my case, I actually had to uninstall Teams and then reinstall it. And then when I did that, the keys lit up on my Mac. On my Windows device, I didn't have to uninstall and reinstall. I was able to pretty much plug and play over there, and I was ready to go. But if you don't have those icons, just make sure that you reinstall or update Teams, and it should work for you.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so dope that it works in the background. I totally agree. So I see all your guys' comments coming through. We're adding stars to them as we talk about like PowerPoint. We'll bring that comment on, the one about the pedals, stuff like that. So with that, I think the last thing to do, or the next thing here, is let's talk about like
the models and
our
the tours.
show off, right? Let's talk about what we have, how we set it up, and kind of what models to do. So I'm going to click this button and I'm going to end my call. And there it goes. It just went away. So my favorite button is leaving a meeting. If you guys watch Nutty, his name is Nutty on YouTube. He's got 3 Stream Deck XLs. He put every single button as a leave meeting button, and then posted that on Twitter. So he had 96 leave meeting buttons on his Stream Deck. That's the kind of stuff he does. So, all right, let's talk about the models. I'm going to bring this back up on screen. What we've got here is both of us have Stream Deck Pluses now. And that's what kind of made us think like, let's talk about this today. And there's other models available though. So if we go to Stream Deck, these are all the options that are available now for the Stream Deck. So there's the Plus that we just mentioned. It has dials and knobs on it, as well as like a touch screen that you can swipe. Then there's the OG, the regular one, which is 15 buttons. And this one has a nice like built-in stand. It's a removable USB-C connection. There's the Stream Deck Mini. If you only need like 6 buttons, this is a really good way to kind of get started into it. And then the Stream Deck XL is the other one that I personally have and Andy has. This is 32 buttons. There was mention on the chat here of this one, which is the Stream Deck Pedal. This is a really interesting device where you can put this underneath your desk, and then you've got 3 buttons. You've got one on each side and then a big one in the middle. And then if you don't want to buy, spend money to actually buy one of these, you want to dabble with this, check out the Stream Deck mobile application. This lets you install it on your phone, either Android or iOS. And then you basically run like the helper software on your computer. And then without hardware, you can use your phone, and you could try this out. How much does it cost, Andy? It's like what, $3 a month or something?
Honestly, I can't remember.
It's $3 a month. So for $3, you could try this out, see if you like it, and then go buy, an actual physical Stream Deck if you want and cancel it. Or, you could buy a year at a time for $25. Just use your phone as a switcher. So it's a really accessible, easy thing to get into. The most expensive option is the Stream Deck XL. This guy's $250. The cheapest is probably the Mini. That guy is $80. So my personal opinion on this, I think the Stream Deck Plus is kind of in, now that I have both, this is kind of the sweet spot in my opinion, because you've got 8 physical buttons. Each of these locations right here is a clickable button as well as the knob at the bottom. So you're not really using, or you're not really losing a whole lot of buttons versus like the regular Stream Deck. But you get these knobs, and I'll kind of show what I use my knobs for. There was a chat here. I saw somebody mentioned, yeah, Michelle mentioned here, like, biggest advice, don't get a mini. You might, if you're gonna get the 15 button, maybe go all the way to XL, because it's like like hot weather versus cold weather, right? You can always use more buttons, but like if you max out, you're done. You've got to get another mini or another device. So buy once, cry once, I guess, is kind of the advice on that. Like, just get the biggest one that you can afford. Maybe get a little bit bigger if you're kind of considering a low end one. But I really personally am liking the Deck Plus quite a bit for my uses.
I'll chime in here with, they do go on sale every now and then. I've seen them as much as $50 off. So
Yeah.
wherever your retailer of choice is, put a price alert up on it. If you're not ready to, if you think that maybe the
Mhm.
6 is going to be too small and you want to save up for a little while, put a price alert on it, because they do go on
Yeah.
sale every now and then. They were on sale back before the holidays, maybe around like Black Friday, and I briefly considered adding to my collection, but I held off,
Mhm.
and thankfully I did because Santa showed up and brought the Stream Deck Plus.
Yeah,
But
they had announced this during the holiday season,
yeah,
this the Stream Deck Plus. So, and you can see on the website here, I think it said buy. In the United States, you can buy them from their website, or you can get them from Amazon, Best Buy, or Micro Center. If you're like me and you're lucky enough to have a Micro Center locally, it's like the coolest store ever. And I saw a mention here, like, she wants, you want purple dials. They do have gold and silver right now. But one thing you can do is they're just like they're removable. So what you could do is you could like get a plus, and then you could put them on like some cardboard, spray paint them purple if you wanted, just do like lots of light coats, and that might be one idea, is you could just spray paint them if you want to get a custom color
I
out of it. But you've got the
I, th-
pedals too, which sounds really cool.
I think I've seen some sellers on Etsy selling custom knob covers and like,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Nice. There was a question that popped up the other day. Let me go back to the tech community blog, um, where they were asking like, "Hey, where's this like custom thing?" They thought it was something you could buy. Is like, I want to buy a Microsoft branded Stream Deck. I did see online, like, you can tell this isn't, like, that color's not going over the edges. So I'm wondering if this is like a sticker overlay. But I found that let's close this. That Slick Wraps uh, Stream Deck decal, I think. Um, you can get a custom one of these, and of course, like, I don't know if they're any good or not. I've not used one, but this website called Slick Wraps, they make custom Stream Deck covers. So you could come up with a custom cover that's like your favorite team's background, team's logo in the corner, and you could get one printed. I think they're like $19 US. So if you want some customization, that's one route that you can go. Um, now, one thing that came up, like, I personally, I like the Stream Deck Plus, but another thing that I've seen is, well, where does this fit with a team certified device, right? There's something out there called the Logi Dock. I'll bring that up on screen, and this is my favorite device for having like a speakerphone on your computer for Microsoft Teams. It's pretty expensive. It's $400, but it's like an all-in-one dock. So it can be your dock for your USB ports, your display output for your laptop. It charges your laptop, gives you all kinds of like connectivity and everything. But it also has buttons on the top that you can control Microsoft Teams. So you can kind of see those. I guess this might be the best way. There's a mute button, a minus, a plus, a camera, and then in the middle there's a Microsoft Teams button. So if you want to turn your mic on and off, your camera on and off, you can do that with the Logi dock. Plus, you get the ability to have like a speaker in it. But I've seen a little bit of like, well, should I spend $400 and get that, or should I spend like $150 and get a Stream Deck instead? And I think from my perspective, the pros of the Stream Deck over something like a dock, the big one plus of doing a Stream Deck is that it works no matter what audio device you're using. That's kind of the killer feature of this, is that it, with the Logi Dock or these other Microsoft Teams certified devices, you do need to be using this device as your audio device in Teams, and then you can use those buttons. Otherwise, it's not going to actually control Teams. With the Stream Deck, it will control no matter what device you're using inside of your meeting. Now, the pros that I could think of to go the way of the dock and why it's worth $400 is, one, it's all your IO ports. If you're looking at like Thunderbolt docks for your computer, almost all of them are at least $300 to buy if they're proper Thunderbolt and they've got like laptop charging. This one for a little bit more also is a team certified device, and it also gives you a high quality audio device for your meetings. This is properly Microsoft Teams certified, so it's going to give you a very high quality microphone and a very good speaker. I use my Logi Dock as my speaker to listen to music all day, so it's good enough for that. So you kind of get a 2-in-1 there. Plus, you get the idea, or like you get the ability to use that with other platforms, right? I've had if I'm using like Zoom or WebEx, it will also control another meeting client as well. So it's not just tied to being like a one-time thing. So I personally like the Logi Dock. I like the Stream Deck. I'm in the position where I'm fortunate to have both. What do you think? Do you think it's better to get one or the other?
I don't
Or
have
am
the
I
Logi dock.
missing something?
Yeah, no, I
Do you
I
have
I
any
don't.
like team certified like speaker puck or anything like that?
They're all on the wall right over there. I don't use them
Okay.
in for this setup. I do all my testing kind of
Mhm.
separate. Over there is like standalone devices. All of my like I document and do a bunch of training and like walkthroughs on that stuff. So we have it in like all of our conference rooms and facilities. So like I kind of
Mhm.
keep it to the way that like teammates at the organization that I work for, to the way that they would
Yeah.
actually interact with some of that stuff. And when I'm attending meetings personally, if I need to
Mhm.
concentrate, I like the headphones. So I just use my
Yeah.
Bose QC 35s. And then if I'm not where I need to like super concentrate, I just use the speakers that are built into my MacBook Pro for that. But I have standalone
Yeah.
microphones because I like microphones. So I have a couple of Rode mics that I kind of alternate back and
Yeah.
forth through.
And that was the thing, like, I loved being able to leave a meeting without the window being in focus, and the Logi Dock gave me that.
Yeah.
But I also like using my nice microphone and my earbud. So,
Yeah.
like, I couldn't use it if it wasn't the active device. And now I kinda have the best of both worlds, you know? The
Yeah.
other thing I really wish I had on the Logi Dock was the ability to do, like, the thumbs up and, like, all these reactions. Now I have that ability. With the dock, if you go the dock route, you can raise your hand in a meeting. What you do is you tap and hold the Teams button for like 3 seconds. That raises your hand, and then you tap and hold, and it lowers your hand. So you do have more functionality than just, hanging up the phone and muting your microphone. It's a lot more powerful than that, which is really good.
Yeah.
Um, so, well, I've been showing my screen a whole lot. Do you want to jump in and go through like our Stream Deck tours?
Yeah.
Kind of show like
Absolutely.
what buttons are we actually using?
Yeah.
I'll let
So
you take over the screen for a bit.
yeah, I'm sharing mine right now. I'm
Cool.
gonna go kind of high level first and kind of show both of mine and just high level setup. And then as we move through this, like we'll get into
Mhm.
some more of the details of kind of how we're setting things up. I've really enjoyed watching the comments as we've been going through here because there's some
Yeah.
really good tips and tricks in there. And one of
Mhm.
the things that I really like, and I believe Richard was talking about it, is profiles. I love profiles, so I use a lot of profiles,
Mhm.
and that's actually where I'm going to kind of start off. This is
Yeah.
the configuration for my Stream Deck XL. That's the one with 32 buttons on it. I'm going to switch
Mhm.
over to the Stream Deck Plus. I'm just kind of getting used to working with it because I've only had it for a little over a month now. But the
Mhm.
way that I'm kind of approaching it is that the Stream Deck Plus for me is kind of the global controller. I want it to be able to do global things. Like for example, I wanted to be able to control the volume on my system. Like I like having an actual physical knob for volume. Like if I get in a
Mhm.
car and there's not a physical knob for volume and it's like a touch screen, it drives me crazy. But if there's like a physical
Yeah.
knob, like I can just reach over, hit that, and then start adjusting the volume just like that. And I really like being able to do that. So like I've got the volume, I've got like player controls, but
Mhm.
from a global standpoint, what I like doing on my Stream Deck Plus is I like using profile switchers. So like these buttons that you see up here are to switch profiles. This allows me to switch to my home profile. This allows me to switch to one for like Microsoft Teams and PowerPoint. And you can see like I don't even have the right logo on there because I'm still kind of playing with it and kind of getting things set up there. But I like using it as kind of a global switcher. And here's how that is actually really cool. When you do the switch profile, you can tell it what
Mhm.
device to switch the profile on. So,
Oh,
I'm gonna
really? So you can control other Stream
yes.
Decks. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to just be the local one.
Yeah. So,
That's
let
cool.
me like so I'm gonna hit that button, and I'm gonna, like, switch over to my other, Stream Deck. Let me see. I'll use actually, I need to change that name real quick. Uh, That's what I wanted. All right, so like I'll switch over here in the configuration and I'm gonna go to the XL, but I'm gonna press the button for Teams on the plus, and now it
Mhm.
takes me into the Teams profile. And then I press home, it takes me back.
Mm.
So like I'm using the plus to switch between my profiles. I really like using profiles because I create it once and then I can recall it where I need. And I think one of the things that and I believe Richard may have mentioned was make sure you have a back button. Well, in this case, I don't need a back button because the Stream Deck Plus has all my profiles built into it. So as I drill down into one, I can just hit the button and go back to like the previous
You've
one that
got
I was
one, it's
in.
like your library of profiles on one
Exactly.
device, and it controls the other device,
Yep.
and you can't do that with folders. So, like, Daryl asked, "Hey, what are the benefits of profiles over folders?" I guess this would be one of them, is that, like, if you have a folder, it's just on that one device. If you have a profile, you can control a different one, you
Yeah,
know?
and there's some
Um
similarities between them, but like a folder is tied to a profile. So if you create multiple profiles, you have to switch to the profile to drill down into
Mhm.
the folder that it's in. Having profiles means that I can easily move from like one profile to another and then like recall something globally, like rather than
Yeah.
having to like switch and drill down. That's kind of the best way I can think to explain it. Folders you have to drill down into, kind of like
Mhm.
subsites in SharePoint. You have to go to the site collection to
Yeah,
drill
site
down
versus a
into it.
subsite, yeah.
Yeah, but if everything's a top level site, I can just go from one site to another through, whatever navigation
Yeah.
mechanism, and that's a little bit easier. So that's kind of how I've started to approach mine is to create multiple
Mhm.
profiles. But you're probably thinking there's only 8 buttons up there. Well, they thought of that. The touch screen, you can swipe and that'll take you to another
Yeah,
page.
you swipe your
So you can
finger on it.
have you put your primary profiles and then you just swipe and you go into the secondary profiles and you can easily swipe back and forth. And it's really, really quick. So that's
Yeah.
kind of how I'm building mine.
So you can swipe that
Yep.
way or swipe that way.
And like let me
Yeah.
here, this can let me
Oh, yeah,
bring this.
you got a secondary camera. I'm, like, unplugging mine and plugging it back in.
All right, so like this is the whole setup. So like I can go up here and just swipe. You see, like it allows me to go through the various pages. All
Mhm.
right, so here, this is home for me, and this is home on the Stream Deck XL. So I'm going to go into Microsoft Teams and see, I just clicked into that, and now it takes me into that Teams profile. Now I want to go to PowerPoint, and it'll take me over to like the PowerPoint if I have that connected, and then home, and I can kind of go back and forth. And that's kind of how I'm wiring mine up.
That's
I've
cool.
been
Yeah.
tinkering with it for like the past few weeks, but that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. Like this is the controller, like the global controller, so volume and things like that, profiles, and then down here, these are the things that I actually interact with. Now, I have a whole bunch of other profiles I haven't tagged in yet. I wanted to leave something for today, but like for
Yeah.
me, typically along this top row on the Excel, a lot of these end up actually being profiles. So there's like some things that I use
Okay.
a lot along the side over here, and then there are some profile based things along the top, and then down at the bottom, and I'll show you this again, a little bit more in depth in a minute. On the bottom here, these are like app launchers. I mean, it's easy enough on whatever
Yeah.
operating system I'm on to like launch, an app and just go to the dock and do it. But sometimes it's just like, hey, it'd be really cool if I could just like one click and bam, there's PowerPoint, and it just brings it up. I don't even have to think about it. So I like having that. So like this is kind of like my app launcher. I had a MacBook Pro that had the touch bar on it, and I kind of got spoiled with some of that. And this kind of is a close representation of that. So let me actually go back to
Nice.
this screen here.
Another reason to do profiles over folders. So I'm a folder guy. Like if I steal the screen, I've got like a folder with teams here. I stick to one profile plus like folders inside of mine. But another reason, Daryl, is you can switch your profiles intelligently. So if you go down to edit profiles at the bottom, and I went to the wrong screen. If you go down here, you can actually say tie this profile to an application, and then you can set one as a default profile. So that way, like one recommendation I saw for Teams specifically was you could make a Teams profile, set it to that application. Then when you're in the Teams app, all the buttons switch to that. They automatically switch back to another app. The only time I use that in the real world was I made a profile for Camtasia, and I had a ton of Camtasia stuff, so that when I was in Camtasia editing something, all my buttons would change. But honestly, you can see I don't have a Camtasia profile anymore. I kind of personally got away from it, but that's the only other reason I could think of using those over folders.
For me, it's the drill down thing. I don't like having to remember which profile the
To go
folder's
in and
in
out.
order to drill down into it to get to it,
Mhm.
versus like I can create a profile for links, and I can use that profile as a link switching button across like multiple profiles. So
Mhm.
like we're back on mine here. So this one's mine. Like, and if I switch over, you see I've got a whole bunch of profiles over here. So like I've got PowerPoint.
Yeah.
I've got this links right over here, and that's just a bunch of like Microsoft specific websites that I visit frequently. And it's just easier for me to hit a button to open those in the web browser versus like working with bookmarks. So like if I go into PowerPoint over here, I can bring that link in on the sidebar, and it's a profile. So I click on that, and then it takes me into, the links that I want to work with. And then on the Stream Deck, like I can, have the shortcut to take me back into PowerPoint and then take me back to that particular profile. And so it can save me from having to remember what folders that bookmark in. And then like I'm working in PowerPoint, so just keep me kind of centered in that. But because I've used this as a profile, I can use it across
Mhm.
multiple things. So like if I wanted to go in like my OBS, I can still call the links from there if I'm like delivering a presentation. So
Mhm.
that's why I like profiles, because I can recall them, one place to manage them, and I can use them everywhere globally.
Yeah. And to answer your question, Daryl, the profile, the app does not have to be in focus if you're using profile buttons and you're switching them. If you're doing that auto switching, then it does switch when the app is in focus, and it goes back to the default when it's not
Yeah.
in focus.
So like,
So that's only if you're using smart profiles.
yeah, so like I'll switch in and I'll do the same thing and just try to pull it up here. So like there's PowerPoint. I've got it set to none right now, but if I'm editing, I can go
Mhm.
through here and say, all right, whenever Microsoft Soft PowerPoint is in the foreground, switch over to that. And then I'll try to like set up my windows so you can see it. So like I'll go and do, like, I'm working with Stream Deck over here. I'll take it back home, and then let's go ahead and call this back up. And then when it comes back to the forefront and I actually start working with it, it should switch it over. I don't know why it didn't do that. Did I save it? But it should switch it over and take me into the
Mhm.
PowerPoint profile. and bring up those commands. So it just
Yeah, it
saves
would
me
auto flip all the buttons.
just saves me the trouble of having to like do the flip over myself.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of productivity, can you switch your camera and show us Pac-Man XL? Do you have that working?
Yeah, absolutely. So
show us what that looks like. So there's an app. You know the website. I forgot the website, but you can get these like overlays, and it's an animated GIF, right? That does Pac-Man. Yeah, it turns your Stream Deck into Pac-Man.
It's basically
you can't play
screensaver.
it. Yeah, it's just a screensaver.
Yeah, and it'll just repeat until Pac-Man eats up all the power pellets and gets chased by the ghosts. So he's gonna win, and then
it's
it'll
game over. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it just starts over. And so you can just put that on as a screensaver, and then when you're done, you can head back.
If you're buying a $250 Stream Deck XL to put Pac-Man on it, you might want to do something else.
Well, that shows another level of functionality for it, though. You're not limited to just static icons. You can do animation.
Yeah, you can do GIFs.
Yeah, like if you want to put like an animated GIF in there for a button, you can do that, and just adds another level of it. So like and I'm not gonna.
They can't be GIFs though; they have to be GIFs.
So I'll just show a couple others that I have on here. I got a do not disturb button that I use that just puts my system in a do not disturb mode.
That's a good idea. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, that's a Mac OS shortcut. I'm not sure about Windows, but I like that one because sometimes I forget.
What is that shortcut? I'm going to add that right now.
So it was Shift Command 8.
Shift Command 8. Oh, that's awesome. Cool.
Yeah. So like I use that one. I've got a light control. I have a light strip that I can control that I use. And then most of these on like this home screen, as I mentioned, along the top, these tend to be profiles to switch over. On the sidebar, these are things that I use most frequently. Probably these 8 over here are the things that I use most frequently. So I'm right-handed, but like so I use either the trackpad or the mouse in my right hand, but my left hand, if I'm not on the keyboard, I have it over here on the Stream Deck, kind of like my hand is literally perched on the side of it right now. And so with the anchor, I know in the upper corner, that was my Teams mute button, the command that you showed earlier. Now I don't need that. I can just use the Teams profile, but I still have it.
Nice.
I have some to like center things in the screen. So like if there's a window that I'm working on, just put it in the screen or maximize it, or where it I use a tool for that Rectangle Pro. And so that allows me to just bring that. And so like if I want it in the center, there it is. Want to put PowerPoint in the center, one button, maximize it, so I can work with it. I find I'm using system preferences a whole lot. So like I have a shortcut to open up system preferences and get right into it if I need. And then my favorite on this sidebar is the screenshot button, the screenshot shortcut. So on Mac, to do screenshots, you have to do a whole bunch of keyboard kung fu. So basically you have to do Shift Command and then 3, 4, or 5. So you're having your 3 keys and then a space bar. So like with the shortcut button, I can just have it bring up the shortcut menu, and like I bring it up once, and then I can like resize it to like whatever I want, and have it kind of anchor on like that thing. So like if I'm going to be taking a whole bunch of screenshots like right here, I just bring it up once and then hit capture. One button, capture, one button, capture, and I can just repeat that for a whole series of like screenshots very, very quickly. Also have on there a button to bring up the emoji keyboard. For Apple, it's like 3 keys. I just have it as a single. And then I have this annotation tool. We've talked about this in the past, Presently or Presentify. I have a one button get into that, and then one.
And then when you do that button, are you doing just keyboard shortcuts once you're in annotation mode?
Yeah. So what I did for this one, this particular one. All right. So hold on. Let me back up. Like center, that's a hotkey. Maximize, that's a hotkey, and it's a keyboard shortcut for the app that thing actually supports. Now for the annotate, I have a hotkey switch, because this tool, the way it works is you open it up and then you close it when you want to go on and do the next thing. you open it up and then you close it. So by doing a hotkey switch, I have status 1, status 2, open it up. All right, now I can work with it. Cool, I'm done. Hit the button again, and now I'm out. And while I'm working with it, I could have 2 different icons on there if I wanted. So like I could say, well, this is the first state and second state, and I could have different icons on that. So like when I say I'm in annotation mode, I can switch it over. You see it's in the second state, and then now it goes back. So that's a hotkey switch. So these are just keyboard shortcuts that are connected to those apps. So these are the ones that like I use most frequently. And then just extending off of that, I have a screenshots one here. This one is an open option. So we got hotkey switch, and then open. And I'm having this open my screenshots library. I use that library a lot. I know where it is. It's easy enough to get if I were to navigate to it. But now I've got a single button click. And there are the screenshots that I've just recently taken.
History of the screenshots you've taken.
Yeah, so like I go in and here's the screenshots that I just took a second ago, and now like I'm ready to take these and do whatever I need with them. Like if I'm working on a PowerPoint, just drop them right into my presentation, and then I can, go. And so just having that as a single button just saves me a couple of mouse clicks, and I don't even have to like really look over there. I can just feel like, that's 3 over, from the side, 1 from the top. There it is. And I can quickly get back into that. So like,
nice.
Those are the main ones. One of the screenshot things that drives me crazy about Apple is if you're doing a recording. So like if I were to do like a recording, like capture the screen, the way that they do the recording, like you start, and then the button to end, that's actually way up here in the menu bar up at the top. And I don't really like that. So I put a shortcut to stop recording, so that I don't have to like move the mouse and then trim the end of the video. I can just record, capture, whatever short animation that I want, and then one button to stop it. And then the recording's done, and I don't have to trim the end of it anymore. And I think that's really helpful.
Nice.
Last couple that I'll show here, because I don't want to eat up all of our time. I have a couple that this is called a multi-action. I have a few different versions of that, but I just have the multi-action set up to just enter in my username for one of my various
email address
logins or email addresses. That way, and this one's I have another profile where I use some of these, but this is really helpful for demo users like Megan Bowen at contoso.com, because you get that crazy long,
that's a good idea,
email address, and you can never
that'd be
remember.
nice if you could tie it to an Edge profile. So like if you're in this profile, you could then also have all
alt.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I got something for you on that one.
Cool.
But I like using it just to have some usernames, so I don't have to remember the email addresses. I don't have to go and look them up, because it's like Megan at 10 at ID 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 at or on Microsoft.com, and I can never remember all of that. So if like I can just have like a one click, like, hey, take me to this this profile, that's pretty cool. And then the Rode Connect software, I have shortcuts to launch that for my various microphones. And then a couple others. This one at the top, I really like. This one is the countdown timer. So you can say countdown timer. All right. So it's our live stream is scheduled until 5 o'clock Eastern time. It's now 3:56 p.m. So we got about an hour and 4 minutes. We'll call it an hour and 3 minutes. So I can say like in the number of seconds, have this thing actually go off. So like we'll say like 60, actually what we'll say like 63 times 60. That's going to tell me I need 3,780 seconds. So we go in 3780, and then we've got a countdown timer going, and then I can go ahead and hit that button, and it'll actually start that timer. And you won't be able to see it on the stream, but it's actually counting down. It's 102, 50, 49, 48, and so it'll give like a little whatever noise that it's got over here, and kind of give like a
noise,
a countdown. Yeah, whenever it's done. So like we can use that to count down when you're in a meeting, or count down whenever you're working. So those are kind of the main ones. And then like the last on this bottom row here, those are my app launchers. So I'm just using the system open option. and
Mhm.
then I just tell it what app or what file, and that's really cool. You can open an application, or you can have it open a specific file if you know the location of the file or the one that you want to work with. So I just have it where it opens up a couple of the Microsoft apps for me to get going. I have toggled around with the pages option. I don't really use pages because they kind of feel like I'm
Yeah.
working with folders. And so, I mean, you can have multiple pages on here, but I don't really find that I use that. I like using profiles. So, like, I'll have a profile along the top. This is my links profile. And so these are like bookmarks that I use rather frequently. So, like, if I want to go to support.microsoft.com, one click, and there I am, support.microsoft in my default web browser. And so, like, I use
Yeah.
that to go to things like um, for support.microsoft.com for Teams, docs.microsoft for Teams, SharePoint. There's kind of a tree of things there and some high level links, but I find that I use these a lot whenever I'm doing work, or like the Microsoft roadmap. I have a one-click link into the roadmap, and it just takes me there, and I don't have to
Mhm.
worry about bookmarks. They're all kind of
Bookmarks, yeah.
just built in. So I like using like profiles for that, and then you can see like I have a bunch of different profiles over here. I too tried the Camtasia profile, and I'm really frustrated because I can't find a whole lot of keyboard shortcuts for Camtasia. If they're there, I don't really know how to find them, but
Mm. The
um,
one I used the most with Camtasia was going forward one frame and backward one frame.
yeah.
I would use that button to kind of step through and then do a cut and step back and do a cut. That was
So
really handy.
there's this app that you can install on a Mac that can help you to find the shortcuts for most applications. It's called Cheat Sheet. I'll leave a link in a
Oh,
little bit,
really?
but I hold down one key on my keyboard, and it brings up the Cheat Sheet app, and it'll tell me things like the shortcuts for like PowerPoint, and these are actually clickable. So like I could click on one of these and say, okay, quit PowerPoint, and it's gonna
Mhm.
it's gonna exit out of PowerPoint. Again, it's a Mac specific app. The neat thing, well, if I let go of the key, I lose the screen here. But if you go in the
Mhm.
lower right hand corner, there's this little menu that pops up, and while that menu is open, you can go and do a screen grab. So like you can bring up your screenshot tool, and
Mhm.
if you wanted to like take a screenshot, or you could use you see it's doing screenshots right there in the background. So like I'll do a Shift F4 and see like now I can grab all the things that it says. The things on the side over there, some of those are cheat sheet commands, but I can grab all of those in a screenshot now and I can work with it. So I like this little cheater app because it tells me for whatever application I'm in what some of the
That's
shortcuts
pretty cool. Yeah, you'll have to
are.
drop the link to that in the chat because I definitely
I
want to
will.
check that out.
Yeah.
That's
Unfortunately, you
awesome.
can't change the hotkey that launches it. You have to hold down the command key, and command's kind of core for a whole bunch of other stuff.
Mhm.
So the cheat sheet pops up, but you
Yeah.
can you
It's
can
the same
set.
button on the iPad keyboard also.
Yeah.
So I guess it's consistent between iPad and Mac.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I use that to grab a whole bunch, but like I found Camtasia to be kind of limited in the amount of like shortcuts that were available.
Mhm.
I don't really have a big Camtasia profile. Most of my stuff deals with like some of the things you have here, and then um, I use the same Stream Deck on two different computers. My other one's a little bit
Mhm.
more mature with for some of the work stuff that I do, but that's just kind of high level how I'm working with it. I'm using a lot of hotkeys,
Okay.
the hotkey switch, the open to launch things, but like I'm using it to get back to some of the things that are super important for me. And then my use case for the Stream Deck Plus is to be kind of the global controller, global commands, like switch back and forth between the various profiles. Do the volume and stuff. And as I
Yeah, that's an
find
interesting thought.
and learn some more around it, I'll implement some of those in the future.
Nice. Very cool. Man, that
So
that
why don't
is
we?
a pretty mature setup. That's a lot of stuff on your Stream Deck.
I'm trying to
Cool.
get it out of my head. Like I hate
Yeah.
remembering, like I don't like post-it notes all over everything, trying to remember all the keyboard shortcuts. Like that's just too much
Yeah.
mental work. I don't like snippet tools because then I have to remember the keyboard combination to like launch the snippet tool. And if I can do it as a
Hmm.
one-click thing, as a physical button, and I can see like a representation of that, I'm more likely to actually use it. So it's about getting it out of here and getting it on something tactile so I can actually take advantage of it. That's kind of
Yeah.
my thought process around like how I can maximize how I use it.
Nice. So when we focus on my Stream Deck, I'm going to go through mine pretty quickly because I think mine's not quite as advanced as what Andy's doing. Um, but this is my screen right now that's up. I've got a few gaps here on mine because I'm kind of like running out of ideas, honestly. What I've got is across the top row, I do a lot of I use a lot of like third party plugins from Stream Deck using that store. One of my favorite ones is I work now for a enormous multinational company, and our firm is spread across the world in every country imaginable. So I work an awful lot with people in London, people in India, and then I'm in Kansas City. And then also Daryl, I talk to Daryl all the time, Daryl Webster in Auckland, New Zealand. So what I've done is I've used my top row as a world clock of sorts. So I can look down and I can see like it's 3:03 in Kansas City, but in the UK it's 9 o'clock in the evening. And I use that a lot. And if I'm joining a meeting, I can just glance down and say, "Oh, hey guys, good afternoon," even though it's morning for me and it's 1 p.m. in the UK. It helps me just be a little bit more friendly, I think, and a little bit more like understanding of the people I'm talking to. So I can see what time it is in India at any given time, and I can see like it's tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning for Daryl in New Zealand, and that helps me just kind of like be more aware and more of a global person. Um, Another one that's a third party plugin. It's from who is it? It's not Krabs is the one who makes the Stream Deck for the time one. The other one is I think it's a what are they called? Bar Raider, I think.
Yeah, Bar Raider makes a lot
Yeah,
of
Bar
really
Raider.
good.
Well, this one's not Bar Raider. This is I'm not even going to try to pronounce that for this weather widget. The one that's a world clock is Bar Raider. So that's that one for seeing times. But this one also just shows my weather in my current location. So it tells me like what the temperature and what the thing is. All my windows are blacked out in my room, so I have no idea what's going on outside. This kind of gives me a little bit of a look at the outside world. I just added this do not disturb option that you had, Andy. So I've got do not disturb right here. Another one is I have a screensaver option that opens up my screensaver engine on my Mac. And that's what it's called, screensaver engine. This is for at the end of the day when I walk away, I want to like lock my computer and then leave the office. I'll press that button, it'll start my screensaver, and then I just walk off. And then if one of my kids like opens up my computer, it'll be locked. They won't be able to get into it. So that's a really nice one. Um, I have this button that I think I'm going to get rid of now, but this goes to a profile for Wavelink XLR or Wavelink XL, which is for the larger Stream Deck. And you can see across the top, it's got all of my channels. So if I open up Wavelink over here, let's bring that up on screen. Um, it's kind of basically controlling my entire Wavelink software. So I've got my monitor and my output for my stream for the XLR. I've got the wireless lapel mic that I'm not wearing right now, but that's going through Wavelink. And then I've got Spotify, so I could play music into meetings if I wanted to. And then Stream Deck itself, these channels, this is for sound effects, so I can like do sound effects in live streams and stuff like that. And then what these are is they're spanned across two buttons, and this gives you the ability to press down and kind of turn it down or turn up the volume. And I was using this page until I got the Stream Deck Plus. Now that I got the Stream Deck Plus, I don't need this anymore. So I'm going to end up getting rid of it. So that's the Wavelink. We went over all the Teams buttons and what they do. These buttons right here, all this does is turn on and off my light. So I can turn my light on and off that way. And again, it also reflects. So I have a different icon for if the light is on or off. And then this one, this is a multi-action. So, or no, actually it's a companion button. So if I go to companion, I wanted to be able to have like a single button click that would do all of my lighting in one shot. So if I open up, I'm using something called Bit Focus Companion, and I've got it tied over my network to my key light, to H2R graphics, to the ATEM Mini, and to Philips Hue. So the Hue bridge for my lighting. And then I just have a single button right here that what it does is it goes in, if you press it, it's called a latch, which is basically a switch. It goes into Hue and it sets my like in a meeting scene basically, and it turns on my key light, sets the temperature and sets the brightness. And then if I press it again, it goes back to soft white and it turns off my key light. So I'm using Companion for that, and I'm just using that button. So now I don't even need this button anymore for the key light. What I do is I press this button, that light went off, my lights went to soft white. If I press this button one more time, it's going to dim my lights and turn them blue in the background, and the key light came on, so I kind of like popped off the background. So that's my lighting button with a single click. This one right here is a multi-action switch. I saw a question in the chat here for like, hey guys, what are you using multi-action switches for? This is one that I'm using. Is I use the Elgato Virtual Cam hub, and then I switch between my cam link, and then I switch between my phone, the Epic Cam on my phone. So this is a way that inside of a Teams meeting, I can switch over to a wireless phone camera and go take it around my room, and I can switch back to this camera you're looking at right now. So that's one multi-action switch. Down across the bottom, this is my button that turns on that mouse highlighter. So I use this a lot to kind of show people what's going on screen. This is called Cursor Pro. I have a video about all these buttons across the bottom, actually, the apps that I use. This one turns that on and off, but I'll show you guys in a little bit. I actually have a button on my mouse that does that as well. So I don't really use this button all that much. This one here is for hotkeys. If I toggle this on, then it will show what I'm typing on screen. So I can show people like hotkeys. This one is for, well, it's tied to OBS right now. This is something called Mirror Magnet. So I can put my own camera as a picture-in-picture camera on my computer. And this is really good for if you're like sharing your screen and you want to be like in the lower corner. So I've got one button for that. And then we talked about Presentify, Andy. I've got mine set to a multi-action. So what I do is I start Presentify as a hotkey, and then I switch to a profile. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to press this button. And when I push the pencil icon, it switches on the annotation software. Actually, I'm not running it right now. So let me run it real quick. So if I press that button, it activates the toolbar at the top, and now I can annotate. But I also switched to profile to Presentify, and now I couldn't remember all the keys. Like Andy has a better memory than me. So I've got now all of the hotkeys to change colors. I can change over to green if I want to, or there it is. There's green. I can press that button. I can turn on the highlighter and I can highlight something. I can click this eraser right here and it erases everything for me. I can also do like an arrow, and I can like draw an arrow on something, draw it right there. I've got all of my buttons right here because I activated Presentify. And then if I get rid of that and go back, now I'm just back to, if I hit that back button, it goes back to my default profile. This one just opens up 1Password, the little like shortcut for 1Password, so I can grab passwords. I'm also using the same thing as Andy to center my window and to maximize my windows. So if I want to make this bigger, I hit the max button. Now it's full screen. If I want to center this, I hit the center button and it jumps to the center for me. So that is my Stream Deck XL. My Stream Deck Plus is even faster to go through. And I've got 2 pages on my Stream Deck Plus right now. The first one is all about audio. And then the second page is about lighting. The first page, this is kind of what I sit on all the time. I've got controls for Spotify. This is another plugin. So this is pause and play for music. I can go to the next track and the previous track. And then I have another multi-action switch for that question on screen. The multi-action switch for this one sets up the audio on my computer. So if I press one time, it's going to set my microphone to the Logi dock. It's going to set my speaker to the Logi dock. And then it's going to set the output for my Wavelink software to Logi dock. If I press it again, it's going to go to my earbuds. So it's going to set my microphone to the Zone True Wireless earbuds. It's going to set the output also to my earbuds, and then my monitoring mix to my earbuds as well. So I've got this button that says speaker. If I click it, I can hear everything audibly. If I click it, it's over on my headphones. So I can flip back and forth with a multi-action. This one is just a single dial, and it is to control my microphone. So I can turn the dial to turn it down or turn it up. I got louder or quieter. And then I can click on the screen to mute it. So if I need to cough, I just tap the screen and it did like a little strike through right there. So I can see visually on the screen that it is muted or not. This one is a dial stack. This is something I don't know if you talked about this, Andy, but you can basically flip through different dial actions by clicking on the dial. And mine basically covers these other two Wavelink settings. So I can have Spotify. If I click the button, it switches to my Stream Deck, and I can control my sound effect volume up and down. This one is just my system volume. This is another dial, and I use this in a meeting all the time. If somebody's like really quiet, then I'll just go over and I'll turn up the dial, and I'll just, crank them up a little bit. If they're too loud, I'll just turn down my system volume. And then this final button right here, I love this dial right here. I have a monitor brightness application that I use frequently. And I found that you can have keyboard shortcuts. So this is a hotkey dial, and I'm doing the shortcut to go up or to go down on that. So if I open up like Notion here, you'll see that, like, look how blown out my face is. All I've got to do in a meeting is I reach over to this monitor dial and I just turn it down so it kind of takes away that brightness from my face. See how it kind of gets normal again? It's because I'm turning down this monitor with a dial, and I can turn it back up and it blows me back out. So that is another way that I control how my stuff looks with a knob. And then the last one up at the top, this is a folder. And this folder has several things in it. So hopefully you guys can hear this. These are just icons that does like the thumbs or the one up. That's the Mario dies in Super Mario World. I've got this one, which is the end music for the level, so I can play that. I've got WoW, which is kind of like the anime WoW, and then I've got some music right here for the Wii Shop channel. So I've got that one. It plays the whole song, which is like a bit much. I've got X-Files. So like if something's confusing, I'll do the X-Files theme song. And then this one, if I do something stupid in a meeting, then or something embarrassing, I'll hit this one. And it plays the Curb Your Enthusiasm music. I'm going to try to quit it really quick so I don't get copyright strikes. That's page 1. Page 2 and the final page, I have the same dials for the monitor brightness and the volume, but I also have a dial now for my hue lights. So I can turn my office lights up and down with a dial, and I can turn my key light up and down with the dial too. So that's just one thing that I do. And then this is my that video lighting where it does a multi-action for multiple devices. I also have that same button over here. And that is my Stream Deck setup and what I'm using for all of that. That was a whirlwind. But if you got any questions in the chat of like, how did you do this button or that button? I'm happy to do that. But I think we may want to move on to the next phase here, Andy.
Yeah.
So we're running out of time.
Tips and tricks, though, send us over in the chat window, especially if you're joining in on YouTube. Other people can see some of those tips and tricks, and they can follow up in the comments and share some of their productivity tips as well.
I want to point out here too. Richard says Companion is a game changer. Definitely check out Companion. I've got the next thing I'm going to be looking at is other home automation. Companion, it extends the Stream Deck out to other device types. So you can do things that are smart devices in your house, like Govee lighting, other types of things. Check that out and see if you can't control something with Stream Deck. See if Companion has a plugin for you. Go ahead, Andy. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, that's I'm still trying to wrap my head around the use of Companion. Like I've started on it a couple of times and I've never actually followed through on it. So
It's a bit
that's what I'm gonna have
complex
to
and it's
follow up.
using WebSockets just
Yeah.
like what's nice is if you get familiar with it, it's the same type of technology that the Teams plugin is using. It's a
Yeah.
WebSocket API.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right, so I think moving forward, we wanted to spend some time on things you can do in Microsoft 365, some specific things for like some of the
Mhm.
Microsoft 365 apps and services. I'll drive for a couple of minutes
Yeah, go
and
ahead.
bring up some of the things that I like doing. So I'm going to dive back into one of my profiles. I'm actually going to on the big switcher, I'm going to hit the PowerPoint button and it brings me into PowerPoint. I do a ton of
Mhm.
presentations. I'm constantly doing presentations. So I've found that it's really helpful in like a PowerPoint to be able to very quickly access all the links that are important. So like I'm constantly doing like Microsoft based training. So having those Microsoft websites, that's the profile that links to it. Having quick access to like my screenshots folder as well. And oftentimes I'll even add like another button to this and I'll show you like in real time how to do it. Let's actually head back home and I want to grab the screenshot selection, the hotkey for that. So I'm just going to copy that and then I'll head back over into the PowerPoint and then you can drag and move these around, especially for those of you that might be a little newer to this. And then I can paste in that command even from another page or another profile. And then right away, one click, now I'm ready to take a screenshot. So I can go ahead, adjust whatever kind of screenshot that I want, go ahead and capture that. And then one click, there's the screenshot library. Uh, the screenshot's going to pop up in just a second. There it is. And now I've got that thing and I can start working with it. So just like that, 2 button clicks and I've got a screenshot that I'm able to use. And I haven't left my PowerPoint controls. That's the other thing I like about the productivity piece is the most of the keys that you see here from this row over. Most of these for me are custom keys that I've actually created, but Elgato and Microsoft do have an official PowerPoint set of keys, and I'll show you that in the store. So if you go to the Stream Deck store and you just do PowerPoint, they have PowerPoint by Elgato. It was really funny on LinkedIn this past week. I was engaging in every conversation on LinkedIn that had to do with the new Microsoft Teams plugin, and I was like, "Hey, the Teams plugin is really great. Can you work with the PowerPoint team?" And they're like, "We already have." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know, but this is a great start. I really just want a lot more." And this is what I mean by that. So once you install this PowerPoint from the Elgato team, you get controls to do things like start a presentation, play and stop a presentation, load a
Mhm.
presentation. That one's kind of interesting. And then you've got go to the previous slide, go to the next slide, go to the last slide, go to the first slide. And there are a few others, I believe, that are inside of that pack. If I just scroll through here. So yeah, you can load, play, next, previous, last. So those are more for things that are happening while you're delivering the PowerPoint. Like, okay, one button, move to the
Mhm.
next slide, move to the next slide. Not bad, but I don't want to use it for that. I want it to help me to remember all the things that PowerPoint can do while I'm building a presentation. And so that's kind of how I've set mine up. I don't have them all on this one, on this particular device. But these are some of the things that I do. So when I'm delivering a PowerPoint, so let's, from home, I'll launch PowerPoint. There we go. Got a presentation. We'll go ahead and dive into that. Now I'm like building out a PowerPoint. I'm going to switch my power or Stream Deck back over here so you can kind of see like what's going on. So like I'm inside of here. It's like I'm building out a presentation, new slide. It'd be cool to have like one click button for like new slide or to duplicate. And you can do that through like keyboard shortcuts. So you got to know the shortcuts, and that's where the cheat sheet comes in handy. So like I hold down the cheat
Mhm.
sheet and it tells me some of those things. So like I can say, hey, so from the file, these are the shortcuts if I want to save as or close or create a new presentation. Or if I'm editing, here's how to undo something. Here's how to select all. If I'm in a view, here's how to go through and do like a notes page, or turn on the guides or the guidelines. So there's some shortcuts here that you can find. It's not all of them. So there's actually Microsoft has a couple of really good resources. This, and we'll put this in the chat window, how to use keyboard shortcuts to create presentations. And then there's one, how to deliver. And I think that's the two avenues and the two different approaches John and I take.
Yeah, it's a different angle than what I
Yeah.
typically, I'm all about the delivery and thinking about like inside the meeting, and then I don't really press buttons when I'm not like in a meeting or doing a live stream. You're like taking it to a way more creative space,
Hey, Mark Cashman, welcome to the
Hey.
party.
Good to see you, Mark.
So yeah, I like the creation aspect of it. So like here, just kind of a high level, a couple of things that like I think about. So like, all right, I'm gonna like, let's say I'm working on a presentation and I insert a picture, and I drill down and like I find like a picture of something. So like, hey, I'm gonna be speaking at 365 EduCon in June. This is the wrong logo, but we'll pretend. And so like it puts it in the presentation. But like I want to center this. Like I want to put this in the center, like dead center. And this is not in the center. So normally I would have to go to align, and then align center, and then go to align, and then align middle. So at some point I started using these little commands up here. Like I've added these little shortcuts. And so like they're quick and, one clickers versus like clicking the menu and drill down.
Yeah.
So it saves me a click. But if I can do a keyboard shortcut around that and like just put it on the Stream Deck, I don't have to even like deal with like putting these on the menu bar anymore. Like, so my advice is,
I didn't even know you could put them on the menu bar, dude.
Yeah, you can. There's a shortcut thing you can
Are there keyboard shortcuts for the alignment?
So that's where this article comes into play. So like when you go to this one, how to create PowerPoint presentations, you see there's sections in here for Windows and Mac and the different devices. And then when you scroll through different high level categories, frequently used shortcuts, work with presentations and slides.
Dude, that is
work
way
with
more
objects
than I
and
would have
text.
imagined.
Yeah, so you just have
That's
to
crazy.
like, there might not be one exactly for what you want, but there's probably a shortcut that's there. And if you don't
see like
it
moving
here,
an item forward and backward in layers, I would use that all the time too. I would definitely use the alignment, and I would use like putting like click on a graphic and move it back once. I would totally do that because I always just have to right click on it 8 times.
So I'm glad you brought
you're
that one
blowing
up
my mind right now.
I'd use this all the time. So send object back one position, send object forward, send it back, send to front. Here we go. Hotkey and the keyboard shortcut. You're going to do Shift Command F, and that's going to bring it to the front. Now, when you first do a hotkey, this is what it's going to look like. So let me go and actually grab like, here's the hotkey. I'm going to drag it in, and then it's going to say, okay, what's the keyboard shortcut you want? Well, I want to send this object to the front, so I'm going to do Shift Command and F on a Mac. So down here, I go to the hotkey, click to assign. Shift Command F. Now it records that and it gives it this generic logo, and then it gives it a generic title. So like I would say like, okay, in this case, this is going to bring to front. So I'm going to type in the word front. But I don't like the logo. So you can switch it. Now you can do your own file and find it, or you can open like the Stream Deck library. And there's a few different libraries out there. There's a PowerPoint library that's out there. And so these are, and this was in the store. There's 50 icons in there. There wasn't anything that gave me exactly what I wanted. What I want is what I see in the user interface. When I go in to PowerPoint, what I want is that icon that looks like this right here, where it's got the two things layered, and it's got one in back and it's got the other one in the front. That's what I want. So using a little bit of Google Foo, or nowadays using a Chat GPT, there is the Office UI Fabric icons. And these are the icons that are used all across all of the Microsoft 365 apps and services. So you can go in here and search these icons and say, show me front. Oh, there's the front icon. Okay, now you can't do anything with that because you have to call this through like you can do it like through development, but like you can't just get like a PNG of this. You could screenshot that and you could use it, But what I wanted to do was a little bit further. So somebody out there was very resourceful and they figured out how to render these as icons in a canvas. So all I have to know is the name of the icon that I want. Just click on it, get the friendly name. That's the one that I want to use. I go over here, I paste that friendly name in, and then I have to tell it the font size and the image size. Now,
Mm.
a little bit more Google foo, and I believe I figured this out on Reddit. If you make the image size 144 by 144,
Okay.
all right, and we can preview what that's going to look like. And you see this is off center. So then I know 144, I need to divide that by 2. So that's going to be 72. That's going to allow me to put this in the middle.
Okay.
All right, so render it. So now it's in the middle. And then I just need to know the background color that I want. So it's just a matter of like tracking down like the background color. I'm not doing this for production. I'm not doing this to sell anything. I just wanted to look as close to PowerPoint as possible so I can track down and figure out, okay, what's the hex code for this going to be? So I'm going to just copy that. I'm going to go back to this little renderer that this person created. I'm just going to drop in, bam. Now I'm starting to get an image that I like, and then I can download that. And then when I go back into my Stream Deck, I can, when I want to update that image, I can do something and I can make the image look like this, which actually uses the icon that Microsoft has in the interface. So it looks familiar or close to it. And then in this case, I'm using the same theming color of it. And that's just a me thing. That's just kind of how I like to do that. But I mean, here, it takes me a few steps to get to this. The Microsoft Teams plugin skips all these steps and does all that stuff for us. And that's why
this might be the nerdiest thing I've ever seen in PowerPoint. I've seen some nerdy stuff in PowerPoint. This is like Excel level nerdy in a design tool.
Don't even get me started on how nerdy I will get when it comes to like building presentations. But like what I'm trying to do is I think like what are the commands in PowerPoint that I use most often? I'm using images. I'm layering images front to back. So I think I need a one-click key for that versus like having to go to the menu. Like, you know, for example, I'm over here and I'm doing something. I need to change this image. So now I got to click on the image. Then I got to go to bring forward and then bring to front or bring forward and then send it back. Like that's 2 or 3 mouse clicks that I got to think about what menu is it in and where is it versus now I can be like, oh, hey, here's this thing. Let me just, you know, bring that to the front or, I still got to figure these two out, but just use some of these like these shortcuts here and then tie a key to it. Now it's a one click. I look down, I hit the button, and then I move on. And for the frequently used things, that will save you a ton of time. And like I'm sometimes delivering like 6 presentations a day. So turnaround time is like really important for me. And doing some of this is like really helpful to cut down on that. So, and you can go through here and see there's a ton of keyboard shortcuts that like you don't even really know about. So my ask would be like for the PowerPoint team to get together with Elgato and provide a plugin that gives us access to the keyboard shortcuts as like a one clicker in the Stream Deck. That like I would pay you for that, honestly, because it's going to save me a ton of time of having to go and create a whole bunch of hotkeys. And that's what I'm doing here. These are all hotkeys.
That's awesome.
So just find the shortcut, create a hotkey. I geek out on the labels. I'm just kind of I like playing with that stuff. It's just fun. But like, oh, there's the new slide button. So like I was talking a minute ago, like I want to do a new slide, bam, 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 bam. You know, just a one clicker. And then things like duplicate, I use that one a lot. The guidelines, turn on the guides, turn on the grids, turn them on and off, quick and easy. This one's really cool. So this one allows me to go and start creating a hyperlink automatically. So that one would be like, I think it's like Shift Command K or Shift Command H. Like I don't want to remember all that. So I just have it as a one clicker, place my cursor in there, hit it, and then like I'm ready to move on to the next thing. More. I don't remember what more did. Hold on. See, sometimes I forget like what these are. So this, I'd have to go back and look what more is, but I've got
Command
like,
apostrophe or something.
let me see real quick. Control F, more. Thankfully, there's only a couple. I know I'll have to figure. I'll have to remember. We'll do this another way.
That's
We'll
pretty wild.
do Command tilde. No, it's not finding it. I have to go back and look at what that one did. You see, this is why it's hard to remember shortcuts. Like,
Yeah.
like I can't even remember what that one did. And I used it here because it's a frequently used thing. And then the other here, I've got it to like switch profile. I don't even really need that because I'm already in the profile. That's to take me. I was testing out going
It's
back and
doing it
forth
for the
between the two
plus, yeah.
devices. Yeah. So like I don't need that. But that's kind of some Microsoft specific productivity, and you can do this across all the apps. So you could have a profile for Outlook, one for Word, one for Excel, one for PowerPoint. The Excel one I think could be super powerful, like trying to like remember some formulas or like links and
You
references to like
figure out how
formulas to
many Stream
use.
Decks you can plug into a single computer if you're going to do Excel.
Well, you don't want to do everything, and you do have
Yeah.
pages, and you do have folders, and you do have profiles, so like you can kind of pick and choose. But yeah, I
I know with
recommend.
Companion you can have, I think, 99 pages of
Okay.
32 buttons each. So go nuts.
All right, so I see a really good question in the chat window, and I want to bring this one up.
Yeah.
So Mark's
Mhm.
asking, can you interact with PowerPoint Live inside of Teams? That has been a big ask of mine for the PowerPoint Live feature team. That's something I'm
Yeah.
super interested in because, and like I have a big wish list around that. There are things like being able to zoom to a certain part of the PowerPoint while you're in PowerPoint Live. Just having a keyboard or
Mhm.
having a Stream Deck plugin for that would be amazing. Being able to toggle the annotation tools on and off. There's some keyboard shortcuts for some of those things, but not everything that you can do in PowerPoint Live. So that one, I've already put the ask out for that, and I would really like to
Mhm.
see that hopefully in the near future. If
With
there's going
that,
to be
do you
another
think we should
API,
transition to the wish list so we can talk about PowerPoint Live?
I mean, it's how are we doing on time?
What is it? 3:35? We got
Yeah.
25 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. We can switch
Who's
over
calling me?
and kind of start drilling down through some of our wish list.
Okay. Yeah,
But
let
yeah,
me
if
bring
the
mine on
PowerPoint
screen
Live
here.
team could come up with an API like they did with the Teams plugins and do a lot of the
Mhm.
same stuff
Use
while we're delivering a
WebSockets for it.
presentation, yeah, that would be
That would be
huge.
nice.
That would be huge.
Yeah, that would be really cool. David says maybe Bar Raider could make a cool PowerPoint plugin that kind of extends out even more.
I've seen a
So,
couple out there that are paid. I just don't want. I mean,
mhm,
yeah, I get it. It's you've done the work and you put in all the effort and everything. Like, and I totally get that. I'm just haven't
yeah.
really wanted to pay for it yet.
So when we were talking about, I'm gonna try to make this bigger. When we were planning our show out today, can I make this bigger? Okay, I don't know how to use Notion very well yet. There we go. I'm just gonna hit plus. When we were planning this out, like I went nuts, kind of thinking about like what wish list items I have for the Teams plugin. And to Mark's point, PowerPoint Live tools. What would be really nice would be if we could do these things inside of Teams. So, Mark, you can't today because there's not keyboard shortcuts for this. But it looks like they're getting ready to have an API possibly because there's that new device out that's a Microsoft certified device for a Teams clicker, and that has the laser pointer and the slide next, slide back. That does work with PowerPoint. So hopefully, maybe they'll open that up to Stream Deck as well. But the things I would like to see is I would really like to see obviously the laser pointer because I want to be able to like turn on the laser and kind of point and annotate things. The pen slash highlighter, I would really like that. The erasing, so just like clear all the annotations. Those annotations I showed in Presentify, if we could bring those with button clicks inside of PowerPoint Live, toggling on your presenter view, translating your slides, being able to black out a slide. I don't even think that's something PowerPoint Live does today. And then one thing that people always want to just toggle that, hey, I don't want people to be able to go forward or backwards on my slides. If you had a single button over here that you could toggle private viewing, that would be really cool. The other high priority things that I've seen out there that I thought of too is I was talking to a person on Reddit like yesterday about this, and he was saying something that I totally agree with. I can turn my camera on and off, right? But I can't. I'm gonna bring up my Stream Deck on screen here. Um, we've got a button for the camera toggle right here, but it just turns it on and off. I would really like if I could switch to a specific camera, because what I have in my setup is I've got this camera right here. What I also have is I have a Logitech camera pointed at a whiteboard behind my desk. So it would be great if I could click a button to have it switch to that camera so that I could go walk over to the whiteboard and then switch back to my desk with the press of a button. Being able to open up all the panes inside of Teams would be really nice. So during a meeting, if I could slide open the chat, the people picker, taking notes, all of those like little sidebar panes, if I could open those up, it would be good. Same thing with the toggles, being able to like flip on music mode, turn on live captions, turn them off. All of those things that like you do in a meeting. And then the share sheet, the last of these kind of high priority items for me are if you could open up the sharing dialog, and then if I could share a specific screen with a single press of a button, that would be really cool, because I've got an ultra wide monitor and I've got a 1080p monitor down below. That's like underneath my camera. I only always share just this monitor number 2. So it'd be great if inside of Teams, I could say on the Stream Deck, when I press this button, share screen number 2, and just always do that one thing. Same with sharing a whiteboard, be able to like bring up that whiteboard picker, share a whiteboard in the meeting. Sharing PowerPoint Live, I think, would be tough, because it'd be like you have to do a specific file. You'd have to feed it like which one do you want it to share. System audio, content camera, and then finally a one button to just stop sharing would be really nice as well. So those are kind of my high priority. Do you have any other kind of like in the next version, if it had these things, it would be killer for you? Is there anything else you could think of?
The PowerPoint Live tools.
That's kind of your main thing.
Yeah. I don't have it on this sheet, but like when you're there was recently in the message center, there was the ability for an end user to zoom in on a PowerPoint, especially a busy PowerPoint inside of like a PowerPoint Live presentation. As the presenter, like there are times like I want to like zoom into a specific thing and share that on the screen. So like for me, having a PowerPoint Live tool that allowed me to like zoom, like if you think of it, like this is a quadrant, there's upper right, upper left, lower left. So it's a quadrant. Give like the ability to quickly zoom in upper right,
to kind of punch
quickly
in.
zoom in lower left, like punch in. Like there are rules, about good presentations, but let's be honest, like you get in some business presentations and there are like 10,000 objects on the slide and it is really busy and it's really
and they
hard
never
to
go
see.
into slideshow mode. They're always like
Yeah.
in just like edit mode. I hate when people do that.
So like on a busy one, like if I'm the organizer, let me, zoom in, punch into this particular like quadrant. Like, so like just divide the screen in 4 and zoom in here, or and like having like, and I realize that's beyond the Stream Deck, like that's functionality in PowerPoint Live. But if you're going to do that, give a control for it. Either give a keyboard shortcut, the ability to create a keyboard shortcut, or now that we know that this API stuff is here, the API, because that would be just incredible. So I think about things like that when I'm delivering presentations. Like, I would want to see like PowerPoint Live tools, like when I'm delivering a presentation, make anything that's on the screen in front of me, give me basically a Stream Deck equivalent to it, because I can use the mouse, that's fine, and I can move back and forth, and that's fine. But sometimes it's a lot quicker for me to just hit the button in the upper left-hand corner of my Stream Deck, and continue to keep my eyes on the camera and focused on the audience and interacting there versus having to look down and move the mouse around and then sometimes losing the mouse and like having to figure that out.
Yeah.
So
This is a good point in the chat. I actually do this all the time. I go into screen setup slideshow and I switch it to kiosk mode in a window. And then what I do is I do it so it's in a window full screen, but then I can flip to my demo really easily.
yeah,
That's
I
a
do the
really
same.
good power tip. Thanks for mentioning that. The other thing with Richard here is to this point, changing camera. I want to be able to switch the camera in Teams. Yes, you can use Companion and use ATEM and then do that. My problem is like this camera is HDMI, the other one is USB. And I don't want to have to. I do have a G85, a Panasonic that I did have doing that with an ATEM, but I was like, on principle, I don't want to have a $500 camera with a capture card just to like, point it at a whiteboard. So I'd like to be able to do it in Teams. Another option that's out there that I want to think about, because the ATEM made me think too, is there's a new camera. Jeremy Chapman, who does Microsoft Mechanics, he has an awesome YouTube channel. He did a review recently on the Insta360 Link. That's another camera that you could use for this use case. Is the software there has keyboard shortcuts. So you could have like scene number 1 is you, scene number 2 is your whiteboard. Then you could have a button on your Stream Deck that would like actually rotate the camera to the whiteboard, and it would do like auto straightening and stuff. So I just wanted to point that out too. If you're going to spend the money on an ATEM and an extra camera that you don't already have, you might look at the Insta360 camera too, because it looks really cool. Insta360, send me one. I want one, but I don't want to pay for it. So along those lines of like wish list things, medium level wish list for me, like things that are like they'd be kind of cool to have, maybe not like wishful thinking pie in the sky. I think this would be really powerful to be able to like switch your presenter modes in Teams. So in the Teams plugin, if I were able to go to reporter, standout, and side by side, that would be really cool. I would like that a lot. One complaint I have about the plugin from Microsoft is the background blur. I'm going to bring it on screen here. So this background blur, it only toggles the blur and nothing else. So there's a lot of people who use background images instead of blurring. It would be kind of nice if it turned on and off that specific image that you last used. But I don't use blur anyway. I got a $400 lens just so I didn't have to use blur. I mean, that wasn't the only reason. But as we get into mesh, another thing that would be nice, like the mesh avatars we've all seen, like the heart, all these things. I think it would really blow the doors off if all of the different actions for avatars, if you could program those to buttons on the Stream Deck, that would be great. Because like one of the ones I've seen is, maybe I don't want to do the heart with the hands because I think that's corny. But one I've seen people use is like just kind of like a nod where your avatar is like, oh, I agree, I'm still listening. If I had that as a button, I could kind of click that every once in a while as an avatar, and it would just kind of like make it look like I'm paying attention. Some advanced setups for like producers under this medium category. One is what people have asked about on Reddit. If you could like, control another device, right? If I could load in a host name and an API key, and then I could do the control it from another device, that would help people who are on lockdown corporate devices and they can't install the Stream Deck software. Something, Microsoft, if you're listening and you want to like see how much money you can squeeze out of this, a premium idea, maybe something to put into Teams Premium, would be, what if you made it so that you could use that API key over the WAN through your tenant, right? Like, what if I generated an API key and then I gave it to my producer who's like back in another city? They put it in, and then it gave me in my tenant, in my client, an approve that says, Andy wants to control your teams with your API key. Are you okay with that? I say, yeah, I'm okay with that. And now we're connected over the WAN. Then one complaint I've heard is, say you're doing a live event and you've got like your different executives, they're going to be presenters, and you're the producer. One executive, you tell them like, do not mute your microphone. For the love of God, don't mute your microphone in Teams. but the executive doesn't listen, and they go, "Oh, I got a phone call," and they're like on the phone over here while they're off screen, so they mute their Teams mic. Then they come on screen and they're muted and they look stupid. It would be great if a producer could reach out and unmute that person with permission. Like, how cool would that be? Like, I can mute Andy remotely inside a Restream, but I can't do it in Teams with NDI. So Microsoft, there's a free idea. Put that into premium. You know? Finally, on my like medium list things is chat. Personally, I've seen a couple people on Twitter ask about this. Like, it'd be great if it controlled the chat as well. The challenge I see with this is I don't know how you would know which chat bubble to do it for. So it'd have to be like you select the chat and then press a button. But then I'm like, if I'm selecting it, I can just right click on it. But here's a couple ideas of like maybe chat automation that you could do. And that's it for my medium list. Did that spark any ideas for you, Andy?
I'm going
Or
to
should I
circle
go
back to
to the
something
really
you asked
wild?
about earlier. Let me take
Yeah,
control
go
for a
ahead.
minute. So you mentioned earlier working with profiles, especially like in demo tenants, because like I had the key on mine where like I can very quickly enter in user name or whatever. And you're like, it'd be really cool if you could switch profiles. So I want to bring back, circle back to that. And then this is going to be a wish list item, and I'll show you why. So I was looking into that. I had that exact same thought. So for those of you that are not as familiar with this, on Chromium, Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge, you have the ability to create multiple profiles, which gives you a browser experience specific to a user. And in some cases, like I can have, Andy logged in at Microsoft, I can have a preview user that I use for testing, and I can have a bunch of different profiles that I might be working with. And that can give me an end user experience and, my experience and so forth. I use profiles a lot, and you can use these in both Chrome and Edge, but it would be really cool to have one-click integration with profiles. Now, I started looking into that. And I was like, I wonder if that's possible, if there's keyboard shortcuts. And so I ended up here. Our Microsoft friend and developer, Jeremy Thake, actually has a blog post on it from last year, and he's on Mac like we are. He uses the Stream Deck pretty significantly, and he's like, I'd like to be able to switch, into a profile in Edge and to minimize it. And he figured out a way to do it because on the Stream Deck you can launch a shortcut on Mac OS. So now this would be different if you're in the Windows environment, but if you're on Mac OS, you can use the Stream Deck to launch a shortcut. And he figured out through a little bit of Google foo that there's a way that you can
pass
get
parameters to it.
Edge application, and then you can reference the profile. Here's where it gets a little tricky. All right. To get the profile, you actually need to open up terminal and you need to run this command. So like I've been playing around with this, and so like that's the wrong one. This is the one I want. So like I went in and did it, and so these are the profiles that I have. So just 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to like 13. I have no idea what any of that maps to. It's going to be like basically hit or miss for me to figure out which profile I'm trying to launch using this shortcut. But it's easy enough to go in and insert the script, tell it which profile you want to run, and then try to run it. Now, I've tried a couple of times and it's been unsuccessful because either something changed about where the Edge profiles are actually being stored, or something changed on the version of Mac OS. So I'm gonna like follow up on that. But like this is getting really, really developer-y, like really, really quick. So
but it's also accessible because it's technically just Mac OS shortcuts. You know, like it's a first party thing for Apple.
Yeah. So what my ask would be like
surprise profile roulette.
A way to like switch profiles on Edge, like, and make it a single button, like click, and like give me a friendly name. I don't know what profile one is. I've created 13 of these. I don't remember which one's which. And like I've looked in the settings. I don't know where to find that. And I don't want to have to go in.
I mean, I name it in the Edge settings. Like, why not use that name?
There's an internal name and there's a friendly name. So like that would be like my ask, like make this a little bit easier. But Jeremy's done the work on this. He
cool.
did kind of the deep dive on it. So I'll post this in the chat window. That would be one for me. Like I do a lot of demos between different users, and to be able to very quickly switch from like one profile and demo.
I want to take on the persona of Megan, and then all my buttons work against Megan.
Yep, and I really like
Cool idea.
profiles. I use them so much. But also, like, it helps me when I'm doing screenshots. Like, Andy has a whole bunch of information that shows up when I'm in various apps that I don't want to show up in screenshots, and I don't wanna have to go and, like, use tools to block out and trim all that. I want a
Yeah.
default account, so if I can have a one-button switch over into that and then, like, start working, that would save me
Yeah.
a
It's
ton of
like
time.
demo safe mode. That would be
Exactly.
cool.
Would be great at
Um,
conferences too.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
Like the person, like there was like something Microsoft, like they made it to The Verge, like some Microsoft employee accidentally like leaked like tabbed notepad or something like that, because like there was like a screenshot on the wrong device. um to go back to the wish list and end mine out, I want to bring these up. Like, yes, can we pull chat messages into Teams and like put them on stage like what I'm doing right now? Can I click on somebody's message, bring it up on screen? Like every time I'm in front of a Teams live event or Teams meeting product manager, I bring this up. So again, Microsoft, if you're listening, uh, real people are asking for it, not just me. I'm not the only one who thinks this would be valuable. Um, so I just wanted to point that out. Thanks for hanging out, Mark. It was good to see you, man.
Yeah. Thanks,
So
Mark.
my last couple things is where we get kind of like really nerdy and future facing about intelligence. My low hanging for my low priority, like this is not first level stuff, is one, I'd like to change the audio input in Teams meetings, be able to flip my microphone to something specific. In the calendar, join from ID would be cool. But the thing I would actually use all the time would be, what if my next meeting, like my next meeting is starting right now. If I pressed a single button and it would like launch into that meeting on the join screen, that would be cool because I wouldn't have to go to my calendar manually. The last two here for intelligent experience, I started getting kind of wild, is this is something that, like, you talk about intelligent meetings, and Satya has like announced intelligent meetings in Teams for premium. To me, one thing that would make your meetings really intelligent using a Stream Deck would be if you had the button to highlight something in a meeting. And this gets into like kind of chat GPT, kind of automation and AI, where like I've got an app on my phone for listening to podcasts, and I can click a button on my headphones whenever I hear something interesting, and it will take the 30-second block and it will transcribe it and then give me like a summary, and it will like highlight it over in Readwise. Wouldn't it be cool if you could press a button in the meeting on a Stream Deck or in the UI when like I need to remember that? And then in the Teams meeting recording, if the highlight was like marked in the timeline in Stream on SharePoint, that would be incredible to be able to like basically get the highlights in the meeting, but it's like somebody pressed the highlight button. The second one would be if I could mark it to do. Like if somebody says they're going to do something, if I had a different button than highlight that said this is an action item, maybe it could take the transcript, put it into Microsoft To Do, and just wait for an assignment and a due date. And then you could kind of extract the to do action items, without having to do like the full transcript and stuff like that. The second to last thing here, call health stats. This is another thing that might be able to be good for like Teams Premium. As a producer, if you could see the NDI status, if you could see the bit rate that things are coming in, that would give you more powerful tools as a producer for running your live events. And then finally, these are all shortcuts, just like it's command 1, command 2, command 3. But navigating around, one of the ways I see this Stream Deck integration is based off of accessibility, right? It's a little bit easier than using my mouse and going and finding the button in the sub menu. Maybe there's somebody who has a disability that they can't quite use the mouse quite as fast as somebody else. Having a single press of a button is a lot easier. It's a lot more accessible. That person can do a thumbs up in a meeting where otherwise they wouldn't have bothered, right? Because it's a single press of a button now. Like with that kind of theme, it would be nice if you could navigate around the main applications inside of the Teams UI. Again, these are kind of all of my low priority ideas for what I'd like to see in a future iteration, hopefully. That's all I've got. Andy, a lot of wish list items. I kind of went crazy dreaming. with all these wish lists.
No, you've got some
But
really good ideas there. I'm
it's
not quite
fun to
as
dream.
ambitious. I think for me, the thing that I would just like to see is I really appreciate the work that went into the new Teams um, plugin for the Stream Deck, and I hope that that's the start. I really hope that all of the other applications, whether it's PowerPoint, Excel, Word,
Mhm.
Outlook, OneNote, I hope all of those apps are also shown the same love, and we get the API plugin for those apps, because as we've seen, like there's some really cool things that you can do when you don't have to go and build all those shortcuts and things yourself. And like I really like how forward thinking the developers behind the Teams plugin were, because
Mhm.
they gave you basically drag and drop the action onto your Stream Deck, and they went ahead and included all the icons. They gave you visual feedback on the Stream Deck device. I
Yeah.
just want to see that same thing across like the other apps, because I'm a big believer that uh, I can be a lot more productive with that integration versus like trying to remember all these keyboard shortcuts and like the muscle memory that goes behind it and like the context switching. So I would really like to just see all of the other apps start to get a first party plugin to meet a lot of the scenarios, whether it's
Yeah.
delivering a presentation or building a presentation, working with a workbook, or publishing and say like things like that. Like I would love to see a lot more than that. And I know the
Yeah.
third party, the market's done some of that, but what they did with the Teams plugin, I think is really game changing. So I hope the other apps are able to follow suit. I
Yeah.
and
One
if
thing I want to point out, I saw this on LinkedIn. Aaron, who was the product manager that worked on this feature, he pointed out and at mentioned, congratulations. I think it seems I think this plugin was developed by interns at Microsoft, software engineering interns. So, like, if that's the case, and you ever like watch this video, kudos to you, interns. Like, you guys, you made something that made a real impact. That I think, personally, I think it captures the spirit of Microsoft in making the world more accessible, um, making it better for every person on the planet. I think this is a accessibility, a disability type play to be able to use these buttons instead of the interface. So just want to say, like, good job. If it really was you guys, I hope that as a result you got a lot of visibility, and I hope you land a sweet job because you made something really cool. So great job on this. I'm really excited about it. So
Well, this one has definitely been a lot of fun. I've had a blast with the chat and all of the
yeah,
conversation going back and forth. Keep it going. Tips and tricks. Let us know on YouTube. Let us know on Twitter. I'm definitely interested to learn some more use cases and to share, and to continue to add to my Stream Deck repertoire. And I hope you are as
yeah,
well. So thanks everybody for joining us on this adventure. This one was a lot of fun. Maybe we'll revisit it in a few months and see how things are going.
yeah. This was a really fun one. Again, let us know if you got any ideas for future episodes, whatever things you want to talk about and deep dive into Office 365. This was a really fun one, Andy. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the next one's going to be fun too. We're going to talk about other productivity ideas. So it's going
More
to be cool.
productivity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, have a great weekend. Go Chiefs next weekend. Hopefully they win. Either way, the Kelsey mom is going to win either way because the Kelseys are playing each other. I'm excited for next Sunday. It's going to be fun. And thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. Stay safe. And have a good weekend. Bye, everybody.
See you next time.